Soon-to-be President Donald Trump refers to them as the deep state. And beginning on January 20th, he vows to fire thousands of these hard-working Americans, replacing them with loyalists willing to push the boundaries of the executive branch to the very breaking point. The New York Times reports that thousands of federal workers are bracing for Trump to revive an executive order from late in his first term. This order would classify them as at-will employees, making them easier to fire and replace with his political stooges. Joining us now is Democratic Congressman and Homeland Security Committee member Eric Swalwell of California and former Homeland Security and Counterterrorism Advisor to Vice President Mike Pence, our friend Olivia Troy.
I think that, Congressman, people, when they hear Michael read this, there are some people that might suggest that we're being a little dramatic. That this is actually not the plan or the policy because it seems ridiculous. What say you?
Well, Donald Trump is not that bright. You could roll dice and get a number higher than his IQ most of the time. So if he's going to implement Trump's Project 2025, he's going to need loyalists who are going to execute on the plan. He can't do it himself. He's a me guy. He just wants to avoid jail. He likes the trappings of the presidency. So he is going to need to put in place Musk, RFK Jr., Grenell, these other rogues gallery-like individuals. So that's actually where the fight is going to be. And I understand people are upset, we're grieving, we can't believe this happened. But we need to get back on the field because over the next 6 to 8 weeks, that's when these nominations are going to happen. And that's where these senators, some of them like Collins and Tillis, who are going to be up in 26, are going to have real decisions to make. And if we're just feeling sorry for ourselves and not telling the voters, hey, your kid's vaccines, gone. If RFK Jr. is in, then we're doing a disservice, to the job that we have right now. And so, yes, he is not himself capable of doing this, but the minions that he wants to put in, they're just chomping at the bit to do it.
But you think this is a real policy? Because I think it's a real policy,
yes.
But yeah, okay, yeah.
Olivia, I want to read a little bit from your piece in MSNBC. You write, as Trump consolidates more power in the executive branch, corporate allies like Elon Musk will thrive, creating an American oligarchy that blurs the line between public service and private gain. For people like me, government workers denigrated by Trump as deep state, there will likely be thousands of lost jobs. And what if there are prosecutions of those of us courageous enough to stand up and tell the truth about him? Justice will no longer be blind. Your biggest concern. Olivia.
Yeah, I think we're entering an era where everything will be politicized. My biggest concern right now is for the public servants that are trying to brace themselves for what's to come, especially in the national security community. And look, we're seeing it now. I mean, we've seen what's happening at the Department of Defense right now. They're preparing for what's going to happen in the changes of the ranks of the senior leadership. There's warnings going out to the civilian workforce saying, stay the course, do not get engaged in politics. But I'll say this, I mean, I lived this firsthand when Schedule F was showing up. I was there in 2020 when they started purging people off the National Security Council and replacing them with loyalists. They were getting rid of national security experts across the board. And I guess my greatest fear is that it really is going to impact national security as a whole here in our country when you get rid of the expertise that's there and you replace it with people that are loyalists across the board.
That's a big part of this, Congressman, where you have the professionals, the everyday men and women who grind behind the scenes, that provide your staff with the information and the details of information that you need. It's someone who's working in the national security space or more broadly in dealing with the complexities of our economy. You have. I want to play a quick quote or read a quick quote from Trump on talking about what Republicans want to do in Congress, where they say everything is in play. Trump ran on a promise of extending individual tax cuts, which reduced what taxpayers in every income bracket paid, and a bevy of other expensive new changes. He pledged to exempt tipped wages and overtime pay from taxes, along with Social Security benefits, which could rapidly accelerate the insolvency date for Social Safety net programs. His 2017 law cut the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%, but Trump on the campaign said he hopes to cut that to 15%. You're going to layer on top of that the bomb coming in from tariffs that he wants to impose. So you have all these things coming together. Now you're talking about a federal workforce that won't be in place to process us through that. As a member, what are your concerns about that breakdown, and what can be done to stop it? I'll just put it there and have you dance with that, because I know that I get the executive branch controls a lot of these appointments and a lot of this. We get that. But is Congress just really, regardless of who's controlling you, because it can't be in Mike Johnson's interest either, to all of a sudden look around and look to an agency and find that there's no one who can give him the information he needs.
So working people are about to feel the pain. They're going to feel the pain through the Trump tariff tax that's already coming, and corporate America is already bracing for that. They're going to feel the pain when he gets rid of federal workers who are implementing the CHIPS Act. You know, it's so funny. He wants to implement these tariffs because he doesn't think there's enough manufacturing in America. What the hell do you think the CHIPS Act was? It's to bring manufacturing to America, and who implements that? Federal workers. He's going to get rid of the federal workers who are implementing the Bipartisan Infrastructure and Jobs Act, which is connecting the disconnected in America. Look, if you're Democrats, independents, reasonable Republicans, the locker room image that I have right now, that I want to put up in my locker room, and this is what, sports teams do to like fire them up, it's the picture on election night of Donald Trump huddled with Elon Musk and Dana White. And these are his billionaire boys, right? Because that's who he is going to fight for. And now we need to make the message crystal clear. We're going to fight for you, because it's you and your paycheck and your hard work that's on the line. And he's all in with that.
You got some I think for me, a lot of this boils down to, and I'll just drop it here in the table because we're going to keep you guys to continue the conversation. But I really think that, as Simone opened up the conversation about the reality of what's about to happen, and a lot of people just don't think it's real. A lot of people just think, that was just, campaign stuff, the conversation. But they're working to do this now. And we know from our conversation a little bit earlier in the last hour, some of the economic policy that's going to go out there. The federal workforce plays a big role here. And the one thing that was very clear from the very beginning of this campaign was that they were a target. And so folks in your space, in the national security space, are rightly anxious. We heard just a little taste of that in the last hour with Mike Needham when we asked about Ukraine and the policy around Ukraine, and just this willingness to say, okay, yeah, you can take it. And Simone asked the question, well, what if Mexico wanted Texas back? And the answer was, well, we can deal with Mexico. Well, just like Ukraine wants to deal with its sovereignty, we will deal with the sovereignty of Texas. So talk about some of the work that you saw done as an appointee working with career federal employees in this space.
Yes, because you say Schedule F and people don't know what that is.
Right.
So when you say they implement Schedule F, tell the people what that means.
Yeah, it means anyone that's in a policy-related role that is working for the greater good of the country is going to be replaced by the people that they were recruiting. I mean, I would say the carnies that they've been recruiting at the Iowa State Fair, because that's actually what they were doing, by the way. And that's not a lie. Look it up.
Born in Iowa.
They were recruiting. But they were recruiting people and taking resumes at this thing. So just to paint a picture of that. And so I'm just concerned that what I saw was people being put in positions of power and replacing people who actually were there saying, hey, that's actually unlawful. No, this is the reason you shouldn't do that. Or, for example, when it came to the travel ban, because I worked that thing firsthand, saying, no, you shouldn't do that because it's going to implicate this situation, or it's going to implicate our foreign policy or our international relationships. Situations like that are actually very delicate and concerning for the greater good of our homeland security here in the country that I don't think Americans understand when they look at global dynamics. And so they're replacing it with people that are yes men, that aren't looking at it from that lens, who are just getting a phone call from the likes of Stephen Miller or Russ Vought and saying, hey, this is what we want done. I don't care what you have to do it. Just go do it. And then you see everyone fall in line. And that's why it's frightening, because really these people are there in public service to kind of navigate it and advise the people in the administration, right? They're just there to give them your best advice and say, well, these are the pros and cons of doing it. if you do it that way.
The civil servants told me no many a times. They're like, look, that's actually not what you
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, all right, I'm new here.
Yeah.
Congressman Swalwell, Olivia, you're both sticking with us because we still have more to talk about, specifically how Trump plans to weaponize intelligence agencies come January. And later, Pennsylvania Congressman Brendan Boyle on how Democrats are already working on ideas to appeal to working class voters. You are watching The Weekend.
Push 3.
I want our viewers to feel like I'm their voice.
Suddenly they change the rules.
The way we approach the show, the questions we ask, are the same things you are asking your friends and family.
But the question on everyone's mind tonight
Because we need the answers, and I think our audience does too.